the monologues and reading scriptures from many of the people who were there in the last days of the life of Jesus, and the lessons that we can learn from these people and how their lives changed the lives of many. Today's story is about a man who had a fairly small interaction with Jesus. As a matter of fact, to the best of our knowledge, they only spoke on the cross, and even then, they spoke for only a few minutes. But in those very few words, so much was said. Luke 23:40-43 says, "But the other rebuked him, saying, Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And when we indeed have been condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds. But this man, he has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." The word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
He's gone. My son, gone. Executed. He has a name, you know. Not that anyone in that blood-hungry crowd cared. But his name is Dismas, and I named him after my father. He was a good boy, but he died when he was just a toddler. But right after the baby was born, my father came to visit. He was so proud to be his namesake. He sat me down and he said, "Tabitha, here's what I want you to remember. He's a boy. Take him to the synagogue. Teach him the ways of our people. But most important, teach him of God, mercy, and humility." And I did. And he was quite a good student, you know. He learned the books of the law by heart. And he was a good boy, always looking out for the underdog. And he never could stand to see someone bullied. More than once, the rabbi came to talk to his father and me about how Dismas had shoved down a bigger boy or hit someone for picking on the smaller boys. I told him more than once that he had to control his temper. He always said the same thing. "Remember, Mama, Proverbs says, speak up for the people who have no voice, for the rights of all the down and outers." It was hard to argue with that, though I scolded him for his methods. As he got older, the methods got more extreme. These last few years, as the Romans have tightened their grip on our region, Dismas became more of a rebel. He let his anger get the best of him, and I saw him less and less. He turned from the compassion and the kindness to violence and retribution. Last week, it caught up with him. The neighbor boy came running to tell me that Dismas had been arrested and was going on trial. I hurried to the prefect's court and arrived just in time to hear the verdict. Guilty of treason against the Roman government. I hadn't seen Dismas in months, but I threw myself in front of him and turned to face Pilate. I pleaded for him to have mercy, and I tried to explain his motives, but it did no good. He was sentenced to be crucified. That morning at Golgotha, my son carried his cross. Through tears, I told him I loved him, and he told me he loved me, and then said, "Remember, Mama, speak for the voiceless." And the soldiers shoved me aside and led him to the top of the hill. I turned away as they carried out his sentence, but I couldn't leave. After a while, I looked at the scene on the hilltop. The man in the middle had been beaten badly, and the man on the other side of him was yelling vile insults. My son, my Dismas, even as he hung there in agony, spoke up and he said, "Can't you see this man is innocent?" My compassionate boy denied mercy himself. He still finds the strength to call for mercy of another. And then he spoke to the man on the middle cross, and he said, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." The man in the middle, bloody, bruised, struggling for every breath, turned his face toward my son, and with great effort he spoke, "Today you will be with me in paradise." I don't know much about that man in the middle, but it seems Dismas might have. I've heard his name, and I want to believe him. I want to believe that he has the power to deliver my son to paradise. And maybe, just maybe, he can deliver me there as well. No, I don't want to believe. I do believe. Savior, please remember me.
Let me ask you a question. Is salvation a point or is it a process? How many of us have that Bible that written in the front of that Bible is the day or the date and the month and the year that you gave your life to Christ? It's usually a little red King James Bible, a little pocket Bible that when we went to the altar and we gave our life to Christ, somebody, as a way of remembering that day, gave us that Bible. I know the first time, many times, that I ended up at the altar having to ask God to forgive me and give my life to Christ, my father gave me that little Bible. In front of that Bible was that day and the year and even the church that we were at that I had given my life to Christ. And there's nothing wrong with saying that salvation is a point. Because the simple fact is that for all of us, at some point in our life with Jesus, even if we've always known God, even if we grew up in a family that always worshiped God, at some point in our life we had to have said, "Father, forgive me. I have sinned. I give my life to you." I was raised in a house that we went to church every Sunday morning, we went every Sunday night, we went every Wednesday night, we went to every revival. Y'all remember the old tent revivals? I've sat in more tent revivals than I can remember, and I've heard more preachers scream and holler and beat on pulpits than I care to guess anymore. I was raised in that house, in that way of thinking. And even though I've always known God since I can remember, there still had to be that point, that time, that place where I fell on my knees and said, "Lord, I am a sinner. Forgive me." And then began living. But the mistake we make is that too many times we make salvation about a point and not a process. Too many times we come to that point, we see that point, people ask you, "When did you become a child of God?" Or "When did you give your life to Jesus?" And the expected answer is for you to be able to say, "On such and such day, or such a month, of such a year, in such a church, I gave my life to Jesus." The problem with that is it sounds as if it stops on that day. When in reality, the answer should be, when someone says, "When did you give your life to Jesus?" the answer should be every single day. Because every day I sin and fall short of the glory of God. Every day I either do something stupid or I don't do something I'm supposed to do, and all of a sudden I find myself in need of mercy and grace again. As I said earlier today, God must have a sense of humor. Because I know He looks down upon us and He has to be laughing sometimes. He has to be. How many of you have ever told your child to do something more than once? Anybody other than me? More than twice?
Yeah.
More than 3 times?
Yeah.
More than 10 times?
Yeah.
And they still don't do it! God must have a sense of humor because He tells us every day and we still mess up. He must have a sense of humor. But every single day, we are called at some point in that day to once again humble ourselves before God and say, Lord, have mercy on a sinner like me. I mess up. Do you realize that in that very short interaction of the thief on the cross, not only do we see the point, but we also see the process of being a child of God in salvation? He did 2 things on that cross that day. The reading started off with Him saying to the thief that's on the other side, who's been screaming at God and holding it at Jesus and making insults and just being obnoxious. He hollers over and He says, do you not fear God? Are you not scared of God? Do you not realize that the man that is hanging between us is an innocent man? We're getting what we deserve, but this man has done nothing. And He looks at Jesus and He says, Father, when you come into your kingdom, remember me. The point at which He truly found Christ. But you also see the process, because now that he knows Christ, what's the first thing he did? He has a very short window, but what does he do? He begins witnessing. Praise God. Amen. He begins witnessing. He's hanging on the cross, he's dying, and he's witnessing to the thief on the other side about the glory of Jesus and how wonderful he is. He's witnessing to all the people who are standing at the foot of the cross. When they hear him say, Father, and today remember me in your kingdom. And Jesus says back in you, today you shall be with me in paradise. What an amazing process of witnessing and of testimony. You see, if salvation is only about a point, if salvation is only about one place and time, then you better check your salvation, folks. Because it has to also be a process. Paul says faith without works is dead. And works without faith is equally dead. That if our salvation is only about a point in time, that if at this point I gave my life to God and nothing else happens, then what good is salvation? If we fail to share it and spend it with other people. There's an old song that I love. Fill my cup, Lord. I lift it up, Lord. Come and quench this thirsting of my soul. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. You know the last part? Fill my cup, fill it up, and make me whole. Do you know why he wants his cup filled? So that he can, or she can, or they can, then take that full cup that Christ has poured into them and go pour it out on other people and pour into the lives of the people around them. That they might also know Christ, that they might also be strengthened, that they might also be lifted up. Salvation is not just a point. It's not just a place and time that we come to that one place and time and then we forget everything else. It then is simply the beginning of a long process. And the words of Wesley would call it sanctification. It's that point from when we accept Christ that lasts for the rest of our life, that we grow in our knowledge and our love of Christ. And we share that knowledge and love with people around us. That they too might have that point in their life, that they too might have that process in their life, that as they travel through life, as they travel beyond that point, that they grow in the knowledge of God, but they share that knowledge of God also. You see, if all we ever do is get stuck at that point and just sit back and let God keep pouring into us, what happens if you keep pouring into a cup and you don't stop? It overflows, it gets spilled, and then somebody's just got a mess. But if I take all that God's pouring into my cup, and then I go and I pour a little bit in your cup, a little bit in Joe's cup, a little bit in Linda's cup, a little bit in Cody's cup, a little bit in Judith's cup, all of a sudden, all of us have something to drink. And you know the amazing thing about God is the more that I pour out and I look at my cup, you know what my cup still is? Still full. Because Christ never lets us run dry. We will share the Word of God. We never run dry. Salvation must be a point, yes. There must be a point where we give our lives to God. As the thief said, Lord, remember me today when we come into your Word. But it also must be a process. We look at the people around us and say, do you know who this is? Do you know this is your Savior who has come to set you free? And then spend that time pouring into the lives of each other. Because the one thing that is sure and certain about life is there's going to be days when we feel dry. Amen. Heartache comes, grief comes, pain comes, trouble comes, hospital stays come, sick kids come, a million and one things come. And you know the wonderful thing about it is that when I'm struggling and my cup's beginning to get dry, you know what other children of God do? They come pour into me and fill my cup. To get me through those difficult times. You know, the most amazing thing about having a church family, having brothers and sisters in Christ around you that share, is you never run dry. Because somebody's always pouring into you. And then on those days when your cup is just overflowing and you're in such a wonderful, amazing place, then you're able to pour into somebody else's cup that needs you. It is a point that is a necessary point, but it must also be a process. For it is through that process of pouring into each other, into each other's cups, that we are truly the children of God. Heavenly Father, if there's someone here today who finds their cup is running low and a little dry, let them be poured into by your grace and your glory, by the people sitting around them, by their friends, by their family, by their neighbors. Their cup will be overflowing. If there's one here today that their cup is just amazingly full, let them pour into the life of someone else. We are so blessed, Lord, for we do have that point in our life where all of a sudden it all becomes clear. It all makes sense. But let us not get stuck in that point. Let us begin that life's journey of going deeper in our knowledge of you, of going deeper in our life with you, of going into more of what you call us to be. Look up on us, Lord. See the needs in our life, and the hurts, and the struggles, and the pains, and the joys and the celebrations. And help us to journey with one another. Help us to look around to see those who are outside of the church, who are trying to make this journey alone and struggling so much, Lord God. Let us reach out to them to help bring them into this journey together, that they might experience that point where they give themselves to you and then they begin the process of sharing and being shared with. Let all of us, Lord God, open our hearts, our minds, and our souls to the glory of God and the wonder of His mercy and love for all of us. But it's in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit that we pray.
Let's all stand together. We're going to sing the chorus to As the Deer.
As
let me ask you a question. When somebody gets ready to give you something, what do? Put your hands up, right? So as we sing this last verse, I want you to put your hands out knowing that God has got something He wants to put in your hands. Knowing that He's got love, grace, and mercy that He wants to put in your hands and pour in you. So as we sing this one last time, if you would, hold your hands out, expecting God to put something amazing in your hands.